Hello Year 6, this is chapter 17 of Pig-Out Boy and it's called Offers. When we finally got home, I have to admit, I was dog tired. I put it down to the anxiety of going on telly for the first time, and the last, if I had my way. There was still a crowd outside our house, but it wasn't as big as the day before, but it was big enough. My heart sank at the prospect of having to fight our way through yet more people. Luckily, there were also two policemen I hadn't actually seen at our house before. They'd made a beeline for us too. "Am I glad to see you? How come you're still here then?" asked Dad. Sergeant Dexter thought a couple of us better stay behind just to make sure this crowd behaves. We were escorted through the crowd towards our house. On the way, a woman shouted at me, "Cam, can I shake your hand?" I was so surprised that a perfect stranger should want to shake my grubby hand that I actually put it out. Only then did I realise I was still holding the two envelopes that I'd been given at the TV studio. I'd forgotten all about them. I quickly switched them to the other hand. The woman beamed at me. "Good luck." I smiled back, unsure of what to say really. We entered our house and the police stayed outside. "Kathy, would you like a cup of peppermint tea?" Dad asked. "Oh, yes please," Mum sighed gratefully. What a day. "I'll massage your feet later as well if you like." Rather him than me, I thought. "What about my feet, Dad?" I asked. "Your cheesy feet? You must be joking. You've got two hands, haven't you?" said Dad. "Get on with it then." So that was that. Not that I expected anything else, of course. I tore open the first envelope, wondering what was so important. I started to read, and the more I read, the more amazed I became. I literally couldn't believe my eyes. I read it again, just thinking that maybe someone was just trying to play a joke on us. "Cam, what's the matter?" Mum came over. Stunned, I looked up at her. I handed her the letter without any words. Mum's expression mirrored my own as she started to read. "My eyes, they aren't playing tricks on me, are they, Mum?" I whispered. "Right, what's going on?" Dad asked. "This newspaper's offering thousands of pounds for our story," Mum handed Dad the letter. "They want our exclusive story and unlimited access to Cameron for the next year." As Dad read the letter, I tore open the second letter that had been thrust into my hands. "Yes!" I squealed with delight. "We're rich! This newspaper's offering even more money than the first one." Mum snatched the letter out of my hand and as I started dancing round the hall. "We're rich! We're rich! I can get a mountain bike with 24 gears. Ooh, I could get a car if I wanted to." A slow burning frown crept over Mum's face. Dad stared right at me. "What's the matter?" I asked. Anyone would think the roof had just blown in rather than one or two offers of tons of money had just come in the very same day. Mum and Dad looked at each other. Without saying a word, they both proceeded to tear each offer to shreds. "What are you doing? Are you mad?" I stared at the bits of paper. Mum was piling into Dad's cupped hands now. I followed Dad as he walked towards the living room and dumped the whole lot into the waste paper bin. I fell to my knees and started to scramble into the bin to fish out the pieces again. "Cameron, get up, now." Dad used a tone of voice I'd not really heard before. It stopped me cold. I looked up at him. His eyes were sparkling with anger. Anger directed solely at me. "Get off your knees." I stood up, although I could hardly drag my eyes away from the bin. "But Dad, come on, that's lots of money." "I don't care if they offer 10 times as much. My answer would still be the same. I'm not letting the papers, or the telly, or anyone else into our lives just like that." "But I just don't understand." "Cameron, your dad and I want this family back to normal as soon as possible," said Mum. "We want our lives to get back to the way they were. Private and ours. We can hardly say we want our privacy and then let a tabloid plaster our faces and our whole story on the front page now, can we?" "But what about all that money?" I couldn't believe now what Mum and Dad were doing. They were passing up the opportunity like this. "They're going to pay a fortune, an absolute fortune." "Not if we say so, they're not," said Mum. "But you can't say no, you just can't. We could have a new house, new car. We could have new anything we wanted. We have a roof over our heads, bread on the table, and each other. What more do you want?" Dad smiled. I'm being serious. I was practically shouting by now, of course. I couldn't help it. All that money had danced in front of me now, and because of Mum and Dad, it was dancing its way out of reach. If I don't take the money, they'll just give it to the next transplant patient Dr. Bryce talked about. And that's our money. Dad's smile disappeared by this point. "That is not our money, Cameron. The press aren't getting our story, so we don't have anything to tell them. They want my story, not yours. You don't have the story. Fury started to boulder up into my chest. By rights, that's my money, not yours. You've got no right. No, I want Cameron. That's enough, Mum frowned. We said no, and that's final. I hate you, and I hate both of you, I shouted, and I ran upstairs to my bedroom as fast as I could, and I didn't stop until I'd thrown myself onto the bed. Every part of my body was now clenched up and angry. I waited to hear the footsteps climb up the stairs. Yep, at any moment now, Mum and Dad would come up into my room and tell me that they really wanted to give my story to the papers, and they'd let me do it. Any second now. But there weren't any footsteps. My bedroom door didn't open. I just sat on my bed and watched the door. Dr. Bryce had given me a new lease of life, and just like that, Mum and Dad were determined to ruin it. Images of money started to swirl around me. Notes up to the ceiling. 5, 10, 20 and £50 notes spread out as far as the eye could see. And they could all be mine. Well, could have. How can I? I'd never forgive them. Not if I lived to be 150. Cameron, come downstairs for dinner. Mum popped her head round my door. I'm not hungry. I didn't even look up for my book. I'd been in my bedroom now for over 2 hours, and I had no intention of coming out for the rest of the night. I sensed rather than saw Mum come over and sit on the edge of my bed. Did you speak to Alex today? Mum said calmly. No, I looked at her. Why? I just think you should, said Mum. I think you should tell Alex exactly what's going on. I don't need to anymore, I frowned. I'm going to be around for a good while yet, aren't I? Yes, I know, but you can still tell Alex all about the months before he or she's born. That would be really helpful. I did think that, but then I thought, well, maybe I'm tempting fate, aren't I? A lot of things are going to happen to us all, though, in the next few months. Some good, some bad, and you'll never know. You want the opportunity to maybe record this. I think you'll kick yourself if you miss this chance. All right, I think about it, I replied. Mum smiled slightly. Fine. She stood up and walked towards the door. I'll keep your dinner in the oven for you, just in case you change your mind, okay? Well, I won't. Well, we'll see. And that's all she said. Mum, I called out. Look, I'm sorry I said I hated you and Dad. I started to mumble. Well, I didn't really mean it, you know that. I know. But that's why you've got to be really careful about money. Don't tell me money being the root of all evil, I supplied dismissively. The last thing I wanted from Mum was a morality lecture. Money can do a lot of good things. Money isn't the root of all evil, no. Love of money, that's the root of all evil. You think about what happened when we told you were going to turn down those offers made by the newspapers. Just think of how you acted. You turned it to someone else. Someone like myself or your father could barely recognise. You will have to watch that, Cameron. Hold on to the things that really matter before the operation, because they still matter now. I frowned at Mum. I hadn't a clue what she was talking about, of course. Cameron, you're a very special boy. Your dad and I love you very much. We always have and we always will. But now lots of people are going to say that you're special because you've had an operation. They want to throw money at you and goodness knows what, just so they could get a story. And then, well, you might start to believe everything they're saying to you. I shook my head. Mum looked at me. Never mind, you'll understand one day. I'll see you downstairs. I felt strange once Mum had left. I stood up and walked over to my dressing table. I stared at myself in the mirror. I replayed in my head everything that happened downstairs and everything I'd said and everything I'd done. I thought over what Mum had just said, grasping to understand what she was trying to tell me. But the more I thought about it, the more confused I seemed to feel. So I took the camcorder out of the bag from under the bed and popped it on the side. Hi Alex, it's me again. We've just come back from the press conference, my first and last, I hope. Dr. Bryce didn't put a foot wrong. I didn't put a foot wrong. Dr. Bryce talked about me as if I was just a piece of machinery on an assembly line, of course. The first of many, bring 'em on, I say, next. That's how I felt when he was talking. But then, what did I expect? I don't know. Oh, I'm rambling again, I don't know what to say. Maybe I expected him to refer to me more. Maybe I expected him to refer to me less. Maybe I wanted to be special, unique. I don't know. All I know is that I was hot and bright under those massive lights, and after a while I began to feel pretty sick. I was glad to get out of there. On the way out, 2 journalists stuffed envelopes into my hand. Guess what? 2 newspapers have offered me thousands and thousands for my story. Me, can you imagine that? But Mum and Dad said no and put the letters in the bin. Of course, I hit the roof. I went absolutely ballistic. All I could see was the money, and the money I was losing. It was as if they were stealing it out of my very pocket, which of course they would, but I can't believe how I blew up at them. I still don't see why we can't take the money, give the newspapers a couple of interviews maybe, and then laugh all the way to the bank. But I shouldn't have lost the temper like that. I really don't know what came over me. Well, yes, I do actually. I think I became blinded by the pound signs for a moment. It was a lot of money. Ah well, at least one day I'll be able to look back and say I was offered a fortune to sell my life story. Me. There's not many people who can say that, is there? No, I think I'll shut up now. I'm hungry, see. I'm going down for my dinner. Mum's kept it in the oven for me. Talk to you soon. Back downstairs. Mum, where's my dinner? Mum and Dad exchanged a smile. Still in the oven. Hungry now, are we? Yeah, I'm starving. Are you going to eat it with us then? Asked Dad. I frowned. Where else could I eat it? I just wondered, Dad said in a fake offhand manner. Sorry about earlier, I mumbled as I sat down. Your dinner's in the oven, Mum repeated pointedly. Oh, and bring it, and I'm big and ugly enough to go and get it myself, is that what you're saying? Mum and Dad laughed. Well, you said that, not us.